There we go.
Thank you. So Mike Pease, the great-great-grandson of Marcus Charles Illions, is a woodworker as well. And one of the things that I had turned up when I did my history on Ancestry.com was the draft registration form for Marcus, and in it it has some descriptions. And one of the descriptions said that he was missing a finger on his left hand. Well, what's the major assumption with a carver having a missing finger?
He cut it off.
Yeah, he cut it when he was working, and that was my assumption. But Mike said, no. The story is that when he was 8 years old, they used the word sold. I think maybe he probably was apprenticed at a sheet metal maker. And the first day he went to the sheet metal shop, the old man showed him around and said, "You see that bench there? You'll sleep under that bench. You will wake up at 6 in the morning and start the fire. You'll have breakfast ready for me at 7, and then I will start to show you how to use how to make sheet metal." He says, "Do you have any questions?" And little Barney went up to the table, the bench, looked around, took the biggest pair of shears he could find and snipped off his finger. And he ran out of the shop, and the old man ran after him, dragged him home, and said, "Take him back, he's no good to me now." So that was the story. A year later, Marcus was put on a boat. He was smuggled out of Lithuania. He was born it's debatable when he was born. It says here he was born, I've seen different dates, in 1865 in Vilna, Russia. And in that time, many boys were conscripted into the Tsar's army, and every family had to produce one son or one male. Usually it was the son because the father had to earn money to support the rest of the family. And the Jewish boys who were smuggled out were terribly mistreated, and they were often beaten to try to get them to convert to Russian Orthodoxy. And whether or not they did, they lived horrible lives. So often I figured there must be, since so many boys were smuggled out, as was my grandfather and his brother and Marcus and one of his brothers, there must have been some kind of an underground railroad, because where did they go? How did they get there? How did they eat? What happened? And so, in fact, I did find one piece of research, actually just a mention on the internet, about an organization which translated from Hebrew is the Society of the Resurrected. Because what would happen is that the families, this society, would raise funds from the community, and they would bribe the officials to give them a death sentence for their son, because if one of the sons had died, they'd be excused. And then they had to smuggle him out. So one of the books I want to write is about what happens in the Underground Railroad, and this was in the 1860s when we had our Underground Railroad. So I would like to actually parallel the story of a slave boy and a Jewish boy going through their respective Underground Railroads and paralleling their trials and tribulations and ending up in Coney Island the same day, the same minute. Thank you. Okay. So that's one of the stories. Wouldn't that be a great movie? Yeah. So I'm hoping to actually go to Russia next year.